Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather Harrison. I'm a journalist with the Mississippi Free Press. So today I'm going to go over some of the legislative priorities for the 2025 Mississippi legislative session. This is basically the issues that lawmakers want to address this year, or that they hope to address. The Mississippi legislative session started this past Tuesday, January the 7th, so I thought that I would give you guys a quick little rundown of these major issues before the session gets too serious. Also today, this is my first real video, I guess, on this channel, first newsy video. I decided that I was going to do my makeup while I tell you guys about this, just to kind of keep myself busy and then also give y'all something to look at while I'm talking. And if this doesn't work out, if y'all end up not liking this, or if I end up not liking this, I can just do normal sit down videos where I tell you guys about what I'm talking about. But I figured we'd try something different today. Jumping right in, there were several issues last year that the Mississippi legislature had been working on. They literally had bills passed out of either the House or the Senate, and then they got caught up in the other chamber, which means, if the House wrote the bill about something, they passed it, they sent it over to the Senate. Well, all of a sudden the Senate has trouble with the bill and they want to change some things, and then the House doesn't want to change those things, and so we end up with bills that don't get passed. And the number one culprit of this at the moment is Medicaid expansion for Mississippi. And Medicaid expansion is basically expanding our Medicaid program to allow more people to join it. And this is not just anybody can join. This is poor working class Mississippians, people that need healthcare coverage, but for some reason their job doesn't offer it or anything like that. This is not for people to get rich. This is not a scam. And also the federal government would give Mississippi over $1 billion a year in funding for Medicaid expansion. There's a lot of work done last year around Medicaid expansion in both the House and the Senate. But one thing that both chambers did agree on for the most part is having a work requirement for Medicaid expansion. So basically making people work a set amount of hours each week in order to qualify for Medicaid. Some people had problems with that because they didn't want to have a work requirement because it would limit a lot of Mississippians who could be on the list, people that are disabled or people that can't work for whatever reason, maybe a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad, something like that. And so basically the House got to a point last year where it was okay if the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services did not allow the work requirement, but the Senate was really sticking to its guns. It really wanted to have a work requirement. Under President Joe Biden's administration, his leader for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services had denied several work requirements in other states, and so our legislators basically knew that if President Biden got reelected, because this was before obviously Kamala got appointed. But last April is when the Medicaid plan fell apart, and that was whenever Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann said that we would have to wait for a Trump presidency for Mississippi to get Medicaid expansion because his appointee or leader for the Medicaid and Medicare services would be more likely to approve a work requirement. And so that bill did die last year, and so now they're hoping to bring up another Medicaid expansion bill and with the work requirement, and they're hopeful that Dr. Oz, who's going to be the head of the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services, will approve this. So this year, this is something that the legislature must do this year. This is what they have to do by the Mississippi Constitution. So we need to redistrict. And in case you don't know what that means, so every county in Mississippi and every city, is put into a different district, and that's who represents you in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. Basically, we don't have enough black majority districts, is what the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Mississippi's Northern District said. I freaking hate saying the title of that court. I have to check it every time. It ruled that black voters do not have equal participation in the voting process in Mississippi, and so there must be 2 new districts for the House of Representatives, and there must be 1 new district for the Senate. There's going to be a district around DeSoto County up north, and also a district around the city of Hattiesburg, and then there's going to be a new district around the counties of Chickasaw and Monroe. I spoke with Mississippi Democratic Party Chairman Chuck Taylor, And he said he expected up to 15 special elections to come as a result of redistricting, like special elections to happen this year for people to choose their representative and senators. So I will also make a video about the elections, of course, when that happens. Next up is the ballot initiative. This is another issue that some legislators have been spending the last 4 years working on. So Mississippi once had a ballot initiative program. A 1992 constitutional amendment created the ballot initiative, which is basically a way for Mississippians to put issues that they care about on the ballot. And so back in 1992, we had 5 congressional districts in the state. But then after the 2000 census, we ended up losing a congressional district because we lost population. Okay, well, the law did not change from then on, and so Mississippi Secretaries of State, including our current Secretary of State, Michael Watson, interpreted the law to read as, like to apply for 4 districts. So basically, in order to get a ballot initiative on the actual ballot, you have to gather signatures from all 5 congressional districts. You cannot get more than 106,190 signatures from any one congressional district. So basically, the way that they did this when we had 4 congressional districts, even though the law said 5, was collecting signatures from the old 5 congressional districts. But then something real fun happened. So I should probably make a whole video about this too. The city of Madison, Mississippi, and its mayor, Mary Hawkins Butler, filed a lawsuit against Initiative 65, which was a voter initiative to give Mississippians access to medical cannabis. Basically, she did not want pot shops. Literally what she said. She did not want pot shops in her precious city of Madison, Mississippi, aka Brick City. Literally every building there has to be brick. She didn't want pot shops in her city. She didn't want criminals, whatever, horrible misconceptions that she was thinking of. She basically sued, and then the Mississippi Supreme Court was like, wait, she's right. This ballot initiative is not valid because, we don't have 5 congressional districts anymore. We only have 4. And so basically the U.S. Supreme Court ruled 6-3 in favor of the city of Madison. So they did not let the medical cannabis initiative go forward, and they threw out the ballot initiative. Okay, well, Mississippians did end up getting medical cannabis during the 2022 legislative session. The Mississippi legislature did pass and Governor Tate Reeves signed the Mississippi Medical Cannabis Act. So we did get medical cannabis at least, but we still don't have a ballot initiative. And so they are going to work on that again this year, and we'll see if they can make it to the finish line. A major issue that a lot of Democrats have talked to me about this year is felony disenfranchisement, which is basically when someone is convicted of a crime and they cannot vote because they've been convicted of a crime. Mississippi is one of 13 states that has felony disenfranchisement, and we also have 23 qualifying crimes where basically if you commit one of these crimes, you're banned from voting for life. Whether you're in prison or you're out of prison, you cannot vote. Some lawmakers do want to change that because they want everyone to have an equal participation in the voting process. But those 23 crimes are actually crimes that lawmakers back in the 1800s thought that newly freed black men would be more likely to commit. So that's why we have felony disenfranchisement. It's not because, felons are bad, it's because, black people are bad, we think they're more likely to commit these kinds of crimes. Those crimes are voter fraud, rape, statutory rape, murder, bribery, theft, carjacking, arson, obtaining money or goods under false pretense, perjury, forgery, embezzlement, bigamy, armed robbery, extortion, larceny, felony bad check, felony shoplifting, receiving stolen goods, robbery, timber larceny, motor vehicle theft, and larceny under lease or rental agreement. I had to read all that. There's no way I could memorize that. Last year, Mississippi Representative Kabir Karim, who is a Democrat from Columbus, introduced a bill to get rid of this felony disenfranchisement and to allow felons to vote. That bill was unsuccessful, so it did not pass. So he's going to try that bill again. He did successfully pass a bill that people who are in jail or prison who did not commit one of those crimes can still have access to absentee ballots. Because if you didn't commit one of those 23 crimes, you can still vote even if you're in jail or prison or if you have been released. He wanted to make sure sure that people who are in jail who are not disenfranchised can still have access to absentee ballots. And Senator Bryce Wiggins, who is a Republican from Pascagoula, said that we have a shortage of court reporters and that we also need to raise their salaries. So they're hoping to address that this year as well. So the Public Employees Retirement System, or PERS is what it's normally called, is the retirement system for people who work in the Mississippi state or county government. Invested employee contributions and their returns are supposed to cover the system's benefits and expenses. But Mississippi's plan has had some trouble brewing up because there's underfunded liabilities. That's basically projected costs that we don't have the money to pay for. This year, we had unfunded liabilities of $25 billion with the B, which means that 56% of this was not funded. If we don't have funding for it, obviously the program is not going to be very good. So that's what we're going into issues with now. So they're basically going to change their plans in order to get rid of this massive liability that they have. To be honest, I'm quite new with PERS, so I'll be learning a lot about that this year. Thankful that my coworker Nick helped me find that information, but PERS is a little tricky. At least 16 states require officials who investigate missing and unidentified human remains to turn that into the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, which is also called NamUs. Mississippi does not have a law like that on the books, so it basically does not have a way to prevent human remains from ending up in private collections, which is really creepy if you think about that. Like, coroners and medical examiners in our state could just be keeping these remains in their freaking private collection at their house. Like, that's creepy. So Senator Wiggins says that he wants a way to prevent that. And also, when you put data into NamUs, obviously that helps the federal government as well, and it helps the federal investigators because, you know, just the more information that we share, you know, from state to state and from our state to the federal government, the better chance we have at finding a missing person or figuring out whose remains that they found. Last year, lawmakers unsuccessfully introduced Senate Bill 2268 to address the problem, but it failed, so Senator Wiggins is hopeful to bring that up again. Next, we have IVF protections. So the Alabama Supreme Court last year ruled that unimplanted embryos are actually considered people, so they have personhood. And so that caused several Alabama IVF clinics to shut down amid fear of having civil and criminal liability. And so that led Mississippi lawmakers to be like, hey, we need to put IVF protections into law. Like, we need to have a code that protects people's access to IVF so we, you know, don't have all these issues like Alabama's having. So last year, the legislature passed and Governor Reeves signed a bill into law that gives inheritance rights to children conceived using assisted reproductive technology after the death of one or more of their parents. So basically, let's say Susie and John want to have a kid using IVF or assisted reproductive technology, whichever method they choose of that. Let's say Susie and John want to have a kid using IVF. Well, then John sadly passes away before Susie gets pregnant via IVF. And so Susie, using John's sperm after he dies, ends up getting pregnant through IVF after John has died. Well, before this law was passed last year, the child technically would not have inheritance rights to John because John had passed away after the embryo got implanted. And so the law last year basically just cleaned up that so that children can get Social Security and other things, you know, that they need from the government after a parent has died. Y'all, I've been doing this makeup look since I was like 15 or 16 years old. Brown in the crease, gold on the lid. Love her work, never change. I think I'm just gonna darken up the outside a little bit. So in that bill they passed last year to give inheritance rights, there was an amendment that included IVF protections, like literally just like protecting people's right to have IVF. But lawmakers did decide to remove that addendum after some doctors had expressed concerns. So they're hoping this year to have like just a separate bill for IVF protection. Also, Mississippi does not have any law on the books to protect assisted reproductive technology, which also includes IVF, or to protect surrogacy, or people who, you know, are surrogates. So I think surrogacy might also be included in this IVF bill unless they decide to do a separate bill. Moving on to education. So education in Mississippi is actually drastically improving. We have to update our the Mississippi Department of Education, not me, but they must update their 2016 accountability model because it had a goal of getting at least 65% of school districts to have a B or higher rating. And now we've achieved that. So we have to do something a little bit harder, basically just make the accountability model a little bit harder of a goal. But that's great news for our schools. Mississippi House Universities and Colleges Chair Representative Donnie Scoggin says that he is going to work on a bill addressing DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion in public colleges and universities, so state-funded colleges and universities, so that they don't get state funds for DEI programs, or if they do, they get a lot less than what they're getting now. DEI has been one of the issues. It's kind of like woke or whatever, like, you know, there's always something going on. So Scoggin told me that he basically just wants to do away with the state supporting so much of DEI programs, but he still wants people to have like the equity and inclusion parts. I don't know. I'm just telling you what what I was learning. But one thing that probably is not going to happen this year is figuring out who is going to control the Jackson water system. The Jackson water system is currently under the management of Ted Hennepin and JXN Water, or Jackson Water, temporarily under the insight of Judge Henry Wingate. So for 2 years in a row, Senator David Parker, a Republican from Olive Branch, introduced bills that would take away control of the Jackson water system, that would put the control of the Jackson water system to a regional board after the federal court steps away, because the federal court is overseeing what happens with the water system right now. So Ted Hennepin really did not like that proposal at all, and he's the leader of the Jackson Water Organization. He opposed that plan because basically we would get a lot of federal money into Jackson because of that, but he feared that it would end up getting out of Jackson and into other places in the state that didn't need it as much. Lieutenant Governor Hoseman said he did not expect the legislature to have a bill this year that would have the transition for the Jackson water period. He wants to leave that up to federal courts. A bill still may come up, some other legislator, because Delbert Hoseman, he is the president of the Senate since he's a lieutenant governor, but he ultimately, you know, cannot pass any bills or anything like that. He doesn't have any votes, but he can, you know, really control what bills enter into his chamber. So those are the main issues that legislators are looking at addressing this year. There's also going to be some stuff about taxes for sure. A lot of Republicans want to get rid of property taxes and income taxes, which a third of our state government is funded by income taxes. So we'd have to figure out another funding route if we did get rid of income taxes. But basically, that is all that I have to talk about today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my first official news video. Let me know. I won't be offended. Let me know if you want me to do more of these makeup type videos. They won't be every video. You know, some videos I will literally be at the Capitol, so I'm not going to be able to be doing my little makeup. But let me know if this was fun, kind of gave you something to look at, gave me something to do while I was talking to you guys. But I'm going to try to post at least once a week. Hopefully I'll be able to post more, but I don't want to, you know, put the cart before the horse since I'm just starting this up again. I'm excited about this channel, and I hope you guys are too. I'm going to post you know, actual clips from press conferences and from the legislature so you can actually hear people talking and stuff. But I'm also going to do a lot of videos, you know, where it's just me telling you guys a story. So I hope that you guys like that. And of course, I don't have the lipstick that I'm actually going to wear in here, and I do not feel like getting it. So I'm just going to put this on for now. It might end up looking good, but I just wanted something on my lips. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get notified every time that I post. I really appreciate you guys for transitioning with me over here. We've been through a lot together on this channel, and hopefully I'll be able to keep continuing Mississippi news over here after TikTok is gone. But thanks again for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye!